I didn't agree. I just whatever, we're going to come in and do the depositions. That's what the contempt was over, and that's what the subpoena was. So I think everyone knows the Clintons have agreed to the terms. They issued a statement last night, and they said they agreed to terms, and the story came out. I asked reporters, I said, then what's the date? And they said, well, we don't know yet. Well, that's a very important term, is the date. So I'm very pleased today that the terms were the rules of a standard deposition. So they're not going to be treated any differently than anyone else. And the dates will be in February, in the next few weeks. So the contempt motion is still on the table. The contempt of Congress is for failing to show up. This will be their third date that we've given the Clintons. And 3 strikes and you're out. The votes are there for contempt. I think there are Democrats that will vote to hold him in contempt if the Clintons miss this next date. So we're hopeful that they'll come in. We can ask questions I think every American and every curious reporter would have, and then we'll move on.
So are you open to doing a public hearing? We offer to do this in public also. Would you do a public hearing?
Look, it's going to be videoed. It's going to be the subpoena and the contempt was on a deposition. If we get to the deposition and there's something meaningful to have a hearing, if they still want some more oversight, then I think the members of my committee would love to have them in for a public hearing. So we're fine with that. But the issue here is this original subpoena, and the contempt was on the deposition. So if they get to the depositions and they still want a public hearing, we'll try to do something, because I think that and I don't think it's any secret, depositions have historically been much more substantive than hearings. Hearings are unfortunately have become more of an entertainment thing. This is a serious investigation, and it's bipartisan. And again, I believe that there were going to be several Democrats that were going to vote to hold Clinton in contempt, but the ones that voted, many of the Democrats that voted for contempt in the committee called and said, if they come in February, we want them, one more chance, and then we'll vote with them on the floor. So I've worked with the Democrats. We've worked for 6 months now with the Clintons, and I'm happy to say that I'm pretty confident they're going to come in. If they don't, the contempt vote will be in.
Mr. Chairman, Democrats are now saying that this is setting a precedent, that in the future, perhaps President Trump could be called to testify, other presidents could call to testify. What do you say to this argument about precedent?
Well, look, it could set a precedent. I think, one of the things that we're talking about today, the video, the deposition will be videoed. That was never a thing until the Democrats set a precedent to video the January 6th deposition. So now there's a precedent to do videos. This isn't about helping President Trump. This isn't about protecting President Trump. This is about doing 2 things, what we've said all along: getting the truth to the American people about what happened with the whole Epstein saga, and secondly, how did the government fail the victims? That's the purpose of the whole investigation, and it's bipartisan. And hopefully, the Clintons will hopefully have some information that'll be helpful to us getting answers. One question everybody has: how did Jeffrey Epstein accumulate so much wealth? And I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. I've read every story about the Epstein. So that, and obviously the documents, the 3 million pages of documents we're going through. I know you all are going through, and we'll hopefully have had time in the next 2 weeks to have gone through all of those documents and see if there's any other questions that might be relevant to the Clintons.
Subscribe to One India and never miss an update. Download the One India app now.